In a world where A-Dub and E-Ray have left their mics, a man emerges from Bill and Ted's phone booth that also kind of looks like a DeLorean to give the people what they didn't even know they needed. He captivates the masses with his stories of quantum leaping from one wrestling era to another, comparing and contrasting the wrestling world of old with the wrestling world of today in only the way he can. Ladies and gentlemen, Let Me Book the Territory proudly presents The B.A. Show, featuring Sean from Fourth Rope Wrestling, powered by the Embrace the Turn Up Network.
Hey, yo, y'all know what time it is. It's gotta be another episode of The B.A. Show. It is I, B.A. DiBiase, a.k.a. Black IRS, a.k.a. the Beef of the East, B.A. Bigelow, back at the mic, back in the building. As all y'all always know, I cannot come back to this mic without my wise man, the manager, the guy that keeps BA at peace in this podcasting world, the homie, Sean at Fourth Rope. What's going on, my man?
Yo, what's going on, man? It's another hot-ass week where I'm at in this lovely-ass summer that we having. And it's well appropriate for what we are reviewing this month.
This is the Symphony of SummerSlam continuing.
Exactly, the symphony.
And with the SummerSlam, you know we got to keep the heat coming, man. And speaking of heat, goddamn, bro, we got a card for y'all today to talk about. I'm gonna let Sean kind of talk about it because y'all know the last episode was me kind of digging into my nostalgia bag, going back to '96 when first time I ever saw a live WWF event, which was SummerSlam '96 in Cleveland. So I gotta let this is Sean's pick. As y'all know, I picked 2, Sean picked 2. So this is Sean's episode. So tell us, Sean, what card are we watching for SummerSlam tonight? Or break it down, I should
say. We got arguably the best SummerSlam card to ever grace a pay-per-view in the early 2000s. Okay. Probably the best one. We're watching or reviewing SummerSlam of 2002.
Yes.
And if anybody remembers the roster that was on WWE, what is this, E at the time still?
We the E now. We got the F out officially. It's the E.
Yeah, we got the F out officially. So yeah, at the E at the time, yeah, bro, this was stacked. So this is going to be a good one, man.
Yeah, man. And they almost in their backyard. They're in Long Island for this pay-per-view. So they're in the northeast corner of the country, so that's Vince McMahon's playground, so to speak. Looks like, I want to say they didn't announce sold out. If they did, I missed it, but that was a packed ass crowd for this event. Also, this is kind of like the epitome, if you will, of this era. Like, we're kind of leaving or getting ready to leave the Attitude Era, about to usher in the Ruthless Aggression Era. So again, another week of kind of like halfway in, halfway out. Like last week, we had the Attitude Era kind of showing signs, but the new generation still lingering around. This week, Attitude Era. You see some Attitude Era things on this show, but not a ton at all. So
shades.
So now, with this being a 2002 show, we have the brand split. This is like the first ever brand split, as you can see by some of the backstage vignettes and promos. You got, for the commentating team for SmackDown, you got Taz and Michael Cole. And then for Raw, you got the legends of Jim Ross and Jerry, the perverted King Lawler. So with that being said, this card, as you said, Sean, one of the best of the 2000s. I mean, and I know we're going back and watching, and we'll definitely come back if we see another one, but knowing the SummerSlams that happened after this and the ones I've seen before, there aren't many touching this card. And we are reminded early on in this card as far as the good shit. But there's so much good shit on this card. I told the homie Sean, let's switch it up a little bit. There's not as many stinkers and funny, ridiculous shit on this card. So I was going to say, let's start there. And then the first thing I want to start with is, I don't know if you noticed this, Sean, but did you notice the subtle shots that the WWE like commentators and the promos were taking at other major league sports at this time frame. They had a whole commercial about, hey, our season doesn't end. We beat the shit out of our wrestlers 365 days a year. So if you sports hungry people going to keep watching people beat each other up, come watch the WWE because we just got the F out. Basically, is what they said. On top of Major League Baseball, as they reminded us on this card as well through another promo, I think by the Fink, that they're on strike at this time. So WWE, and I get it, trying to get the passive eye, especially at a card like this. If you don't get them, this is the card to get your
this the one,
right, to get the casual eye that doesn't usually pay for this or is going to be watching this. So yeah, man, did you catch any of those vignettes?
I saw a few of them. This was pretty common at the time because, as you know, they were trying to get away from wrestling. For the word, it was sports entertainment.
Yeah.
So they're trying to put themselves on the same level of other major league sports. The common thing back in the day. I mean, they still rock with it. They still don't really use the word wrestling at all.
No.
So it's all sports entertainment.
That is about as sacrilegious as using the word belt, my friend, in the WWE
It's a Vinceism.
Yes,
it's a
exactly.
Vinceism.
Big Vinceism there. And even more so with the not wanting to use the word wrestling. As we recall, 2001, WCW just folded into WWE. A lot of
made wrestling a dirty word.
Exactly. That's where the big boys played, so to speak, and they wrestled in WCW. They didn't do the sports entertainment stuff, which I mean I'm sure we'll get into in future episodes as far as like what really is a sports entertainment match versus a wrestling match. But we're gonna leave that there. As far as other funny shit I saw, we're gonna jump through the card here during the Test and Undertaker match. And I know a lot of people kind of shit on the American Badass. I like the American Badass. I'm a big fan of when Undertaker got rid of all the weird golf shit and was just like, I'm gonna just be Mark Calloway. Y'all take it or leave it. But the one thing I can't stand when they show Undertaker or anybody that was using royalty protected music at this time is when they throw in some bullshit theme music you know that they weren't using. I'm like, man, give me my Limp Bizkit rolling, please. Like, I need it. I need it. Or even give me that bullshit Kid Rock song he was using. But that I just hate when they give him that dead man walking and that generic ass, like, badass theme that he had that he never used to use as a theme. That shit irks my soul, bro. And I may have said this on past episodes, but it came up again.
You have. No, yeah, you
Can't stand it. Can't stand it. I know they're probably like, BA, go watch the old DVDs if you care that goddamn much. I'm not, man. I'm not going to do that. I fucking stream my shit. I'm sorry. I don't have that physical media anymore. Sorry. But on top of that, with that Undertaker and Test match, or excuse me, no, take that back. This is actually during the Un-Americans versus Goldust and Booker T. Test does a run-in during the match and gives, I believe, Booker T a big boot. And as Test is running out of the ring, the referee's getting up, ref spot, but he's looking directly at Test as he runs out the ring, and you see the other wrestlers laid out. I'm like, yo, that should be a DQ. 2 + 2 = 4, Nick Patrick. Why don't you down ref or down wrestler? You just got knocked out. A guy that's not in the match is running out of the ring that you just saw because I saw you looking at him. So you can either blame the cameraman for that or Nick Patrick. I'm going to blame the cameraman because Nick Patrick, guys, he's supposed to call what he's supposed to call. But did you catch that shit, man?
I didn't really catch it. It was I was more trying to pay suspension of disbelief. I wasn't trying to pay attention to the details. I didn't really enjoy the match too much, period. So I was trying to get as much enjoyment out of it. So if I'm nitpicking at it, I'm not really gonna fucking pay attention at all. That's something you pointed out to me. That's an interesting detail.
Yeah, man, and I hate seeing that kind of stuff. I talked about it on the Halloween Havoc 97 episode where Lil Nate was doing that quite a bit in some matches where there was obvious interference and he's just obviously ignoring it for, as you said, the sake of the suspension of disbelief. But I'm like, dude, if you're going like this more to the casual eye conversation, if you're going to get that casual eye, you got to sell shit like that. Like, oh, I saw it. Hey, because the casual person watching this shit will be like, man, that's just bullshit. I'm cutting it off. So that kind of stuff irks me as far as a fan that wants the product to be better. But I'm not gonna trip on that. One thing that most men would trip on, I would hope, was back in the day, there used to be a couple named Jamie Noble, who now works in the back as an agent, been an agent for a long time, and a tough enough competitor named Nydia. Nydia was had a whole gimmick around being like this country bumpkin, and Jamie Noble kind of like they just like to just do it everywhere and make out. But they took it to another level on this pay-per-view, guys. I had to add this to the lowlights. There's the World Restaurant in Times Square. Do you remember the World Restaurant, Sean, that they had?
I remember
the vignette. I'm Sean, you weren't born yet. Yes.
I mean, yeah, from seeing them, I remember a lot where they would keep a wrestler in New York and things like that.
Yeah.
And get on the mic in front of all the people and shit. Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
Yes. So they're doing that shit. They were always trying to pump that, and the fact that this is in Long Island, the World's in Times Square. It's not far away from Long Island. They had Nydia and Jamie Noble there, and Nydia was having a makeout competition. Not with Jamie Noble, with 3 random dudes from the crowd. And Jamie Noble was sitting there being the original cuck, it appeared, and was cheering this shit on like he was betting on a horse, and his horse is about to cross the finish line, finish at least first or second, and win some big money off of that shit, bro.
I saw.
We all fucking saw. But it was wild, man, because I was just like, damn, because I completely forgot about this gimmick. I was like, yeah, Jamie Noble was out here just smutting this girl out to watch her get on with dudes. And I never really understood that. But to my point, opening up the episode, this is some of that Attitude Era shit leaking into.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out right now, though, too.
Oh, yeah, my man's was using her to get title shots and all types of shit, bro. That man's was slinging his woman's ass for gold, bro. Just recklessly.
Egregiously. Yes.
Egregiously, absolutely.
Gentleman-like, if you will. Shout out to the fellas. Yes. And then, speaking of Attitude Era shit, my last low light, for me at least, I haven't heard any of Sean's. I don't know if he differentiates from what I'm saying, but that fucking Howard Finkel promo before the official main event, where he had Trish come out and they're doing like the fake hugs and the fake touching. What? I was like, what is this? And then Lillian Garcia slaps the Fink for being a perv. Fink is not like this in real life, guys. Just want to let y'all know. R.I.P. to the Fink. He was not like that from what they all said about the Fink in the back. So I'm like, why they do this, man, like this? He got a whole ass family at home. And I'm sure the payday ain't worth it. But did you feel the same sentiment, Sean, around this little segment?
When I watched this, even like when I was a kid for the first time, I was just confused on why it was happening. I know Vince liked to use Trish like a whore at the time.
Yes, he did.
Which was just a very common thing, but I didn't get, like, was there a backstory? Have they ever interacted before, or like...
Not to my knowledge. Even watching, like, going back in my mind and remembering, like, just watching Raw and SmackDown in 2002, no.
Trish and Fink were never a thing, so that's why I'm just kind of like, this was a weird segment to have.
If anything, this is the time frame where they were trying to switch Trish from a valet strictly to a talent in the ring, and I think this is they're trying to get her out of that whole I'm just the vixen, the valet, arm candy type of deal to I'm a serious talent in the ring, and Lita's not there yet either to be her foe. Or Jackie, I don't think either. So it's a weird time frame for women's wrestlers, because we don't see any women's matches on this card.
No, yes. I was going to point that out, actually. There's no women's matches at all.
And there was definitely women around at this time that they could have at least put a match on with, I believe.
Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty.
So very strange, but I mean, those are my lowlights, kind of like what the fuck moments of this card. What about you, Sean? Is there anything that I didn't mention that kind of just stuck out to you?
No, that was mostly it. I mean, I know we're a little different about the Un-Americans. You kind of put them over. I'm kind of bury them.
Yeah, speak your truth, bro. Speak on it.
It was in response to the current events that were going on at the time, which WWE is very keen on doing that a lot.
Oh yeah.
They've always done the patriotic, getting involved in politics, not getting involved, but making gimmicks around political events and world events and shit like that. Stale, unoriginal. They just flipped a fucking flag upside down and called themselves un-American. And they were all, what, Canadians?
Yeah, all Canadians.
Lance Storm Christian is Tess Canadian?
Yes, Tess is Canadian. Or was Canadian.
Okay, then yeah. It was just fucking, they were all Canadians like that hated America. It was a shitty gimmick.
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit, if you will. I'll give you that. And then the WWF/WWE, notorious over the years for doing that kind of stuff, leaning into like the Cold War gimmicks in the 80s with like the Kokolofs, I think they were, Nikolai Koloff and stuff like that. I think that's what their names were. And
Nikolai Volkov or whatever, yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter during the Iraq War, turning against America.
Iraqi sympathizer.
Burning flags and shit. And then you get in this era, this was the 9/11 era, so WWF leaning heavily into that with the American flag logo and the un-American gimmick, and soon to come, a couple years from this, maybe a year, the Muhammad Hassan gimmick against the Undertaker. So there's
another 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years,
2 or 3,
2002. So like 3 years,
yeah,
I think, 2005.
That tracks. But like you said, it's just this is their low hanging fruit. This is how they do it. But to transfer over, since that's your only low light, Sean, that I haven't mentioned was the Un-Americans. I'm gonna speak on why they're actually good shit to me. Kind of lean into the good shit from here.
Okay, all right.
I get it. There's a Jerry Cheap gimmick, but I forgot how good of a tag or good of a stable, in my opinion, they were. And the reason why I say that is because this is the first time we're seeing Christian's heel work. And we all watch the current product that are here now. Y'all know, y'all listen to us on Let Me Book the Territory. Problematically discuss AEW on an almost weekly basis as far as that product. And then with that being said, Christian, in my opinion, is one of the biggest heels on that product right now. So
yeah,
this here was where all of that got to. This is the first time Christian was ever officially heel. He turned on Edge and then joined up with Lance Storm and Test in this period to do this un-American stuff. They didn't do it for a terribly long time. I completely forgot about it. But the reason why I liked it was because you have Lance Storm teaching Christian how to be the stale heel. And Lance Storm made a career out of this shit. A lot from his ECW days when he was in the Impact Players with Just Incredible and Francine and fucking Shane Douglas. Bam Bam Bigelow, shout out to the nickname at a point in time as well. So that's why I was like, okay, this makes sense. Why Christian is such a good heel. He started to get the seeds planted here. So I get, like you said, I understand your points, but me actually being in the product and understanding kind of like the origin stories around some shit, I kind of have more of a softer spot for it. Like I said, even though it wasn't like this long gimmick, I just feel like people should talk about it more because it's not even spoken of anymore as far as these dudes are even together. And then also it hurts that the fact that Tess passed away in an unceremoniously fashion, I'm sure is why they can't talk about these things as much as other things we see on the card as well, as far as unceremoniously things happen in the wrestlers that we know for being great workers. But on top of the un-American stuff, them just being a great gimmick, the first thing that jumped out to me on this card is good shit. Jeez Louise, Sean. This Rey Mysterio Jr. and Kurt Angle match to start off a pay-per-view in 2002, bruh. What? They had Kurt Angle opening up pay-per-views, and my man's, I feel like him and Ray was like, we gonna steal this fucking show. Like, we doing that tonight. Like, even though we open it up, we curtain jerking, we still in the show. So for the start of the match, Kurt comes out first. He's waiting for Ray to come out. Ray doesn't walk down the ramp. Ray starts jumping off the rope. Kairada off of the fucking top rope to start it off.
Yeah, does that whole twist shit.
Yeah, to get the energy
that
going,
shit was
man.
Smooth.
And a 2002 Rey Mysterio moves so much differently than a 2023 Rey Mysterio. That's no knock to Rey Mysterio at all. The man's been moving like this since the late 80s, so there's no knocking that. But it's always just nice to remember the man that earned the Hall of Fame status that the current man has. And this is him in live and in living color. So yeah, bro, what a way to open up a fucking pay-per-view.
Perfect way to open up. It's two big names. It's fast paced. It's not. They gave you a non cliche opening with Rey Mysterio rushing the shit out of Kurt Angle at first. That's always a great way to open up, because that shows, all right, this isn't just a regular, two people fighting in a match. There's actually emotion and a story here.
Yep.
Kurt Angle is arguably had one of the best runs in the early 2000s for a fresh wrestler. I mean, explosive power, speed on both sides, for the speed, entertaining. There was fucking high maneuvers, high spots, submissions, like all types of shit, bro. Like, fucking great starting match. Set the bar high,
big time, man. High octane all around. Just great close count, almost finishes where they made sense. I feel like I'd argue now in today's product, that shit happens entirely too much with the false finishes and fucking 2.5 counts off of doing 3 or 4 finishers on somebody. Like, this is the perfect, pace of them by Kurt to sell the almost finishes. And then Kurt comes out, finishes off Ray in the middle of the ring with a fucking ankle lock, goes home to "You Suck" chants. What more do you need to start off a pay-per-view, bro? I don't think you can start a pay-per-view off any better than I've seen in a long time. Watching back or currently watching right now. So that was awesome to see. The next match still keeps it going, surprisingly, considering the two people in the ring. Y2J Chris Jericho versus Ric Flair, pre-evolution, Ric Flair. So he hasn't joined that stable yet. So the main thing that jumped off to me on this match was Ric Flair's work rate. Especially, and the reason why I say that, Sean, is that's just because he's older and can go. Like, Ric Flair's always been able to go. I just remember in this particular bubble of time, Triple H talking about how just kind of out of it and just finished with things he was, and how he had to remind him, you Ric Flair, bruh. Nobody built like you. You design yourself. Shout out to Hov. But yes, come on, man.
Pick yourself up, brother. What you doing down there, man? Come on, get up here, man.
And I feel like that conversation might have happened around this time frame, because Ric Flair is working like it's 1993. The way he's working with Jericho, and I'm sure he probably did a lot of that for Jericho to make him a stronger heel, because Ric Flair was oddly enough the babyface in this match. But
weird,
yeah, even weirder. But not a terrible match, bro. I was expecting this to be all right, they're gonna calm us down after that big ass fucking fire ass match we just had to start the card. But yeah, bro, your thoughts on that?
I've been tainted by post-evolution Flair.
Haven't we all?
Way too much. So I came in, and I don't know if it was just that good of a match or if it just exceeded my expectation that much. But solid ass match, good energy, good wrestling. I expected, slow, methodical Flair, wasn't taking too many bumps, shit like that. This was a good fucking match, and it kept the pace decent. They didn't try to shoot higher than Mysterio and Angle, which you probably wouldn't have. Good thing, but that's a good thing. Right. They kept the pace smooth, man. That's a good second run for a match on the card.
Yeah, and then he still won like a heel, because he did some heel shit to kind of grab the rope, and then he got another figure four to get Jericho to submit. So great Ric Flair match for the time frame and all things considered. Next thing that I would consider good shit, even though it was kind of like a dead spot in the show, you got Brock and Paul Heyman in the back. They just showed one of those Best of Hulk Hogan DVD commercials, because Paul Heyman's talking about, that's the side of when somebody's career's over, when you see that kind of stuff. And I guess Brock Lesnar had just wrestled Hulk Hogan at the pay-per-view before this one, and and he beat the shit out of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's got to bleed and shit. I feel like every match in this era of Hulk Hogan. So Hulk's home. You don't see him on this show, but they're talking about his DVD coming out. So I thought that was pretty fucking funny to use the best ofs that came out by a shit ton in this time frame. All the best of the guys of the 80s and early 90s, and kind of make fun of it, but also pub it, because it's their shit. They got to sell DVDs, right? So I thought that was funny as fuck. And then also, even funnier is, I think I even own that Hulk Hogan DVD somewhere in my house. So shamefully, yes, I do own that somewhere in my home. So
Nice.
Shamefully, I'm gonna echo that. Yes, I own that DVD. But yeah, bro. Did you catch this at all, or was this a fast forward moment to the next one?
I mean, we can really fast forward to the next one.
That's kind of what I figured. It's cool. It caught me off guard and popped me a little bit with some funny shit.
I wasn't really a consumer of those things in those days. You know, it took me a little longer. So
I understand. No, I get that. Hey, I'm in high school. I'm making money for the first time. Shout out to Taco Bell and shit. Spending my Taco Bell money on old wrestling DVDs. Real smart. Real smart way to spend your money. I know, Brian.
My dad had WCW recorded VHS tapes.
Oh yeah, gotta have those.
And the first one he did buy was The Undertaker. It was like a 3-disc set.
Okay.
He did buy. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about. It was like it exploded back in the early 2000s. But it's a 3-disc set of The Undertaker. I watched that shit religiously.
I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I didn't own it, but I know exactly what set you're talking about for sure. As it came out around the same time as like I said, the Hulk Hogan one, Bret Hart had one come out. Mm-hmm. The controversial Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior came out, where they kind of buried the Ultimate Warrior for like a 2-hour DVD. I don't even think they sell that thing anymore, but if you can find it, go watch it, because they try to bury that. They don't want to show the world how they really felt about Ultimate Warrior before he passed away, basically, which is wild in itself. But yeah, bro, gotta love WWE home videos. Still hits.
Love them.
Yes.
Love them.
So next thing was another great match. Not spectacular, but just I appreciated some things that happened in this match. It was just a Eddie Guerrero versus Edge match. It's like some stuff that they had heating up over SmackDown months past. Sean, you got more to elaborate on the background of this match or not?
Nah, not the background, so to speak, on this match, because they didn't really, put too much time into what they considered mid-card at this time. Edge wasn't really main event, and Eddie Guerrero wasn't really main event at this time.
True.
So, yeah, not too much on the background. The actual match, though, beautiful. One of my favorites of the card.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Biggest thing that jumped out to me was Edge's reaction from the crowd. Like you knew he was next up. The way he got that pop. And I think Eddie knew he was next up because of the job he did for him in this match. I think it did nothing but catapult Edge further to be more taken seriously as a single star. Because remember, the Edge we've seen up until this point, outside of when he originally debuted, everything he's done has been with Christian. All he's known as is just a tag team wrestler and do a lot of crazy spots in some crazy tag team matches with other guys that go crazy. So Edge is still making his name for himself as a singles wrestler. So this was, I think, very important thing. Even though, like you said, Eddie wasn't Eddie yet fully, as far as like the legend that he becomes a couple years from this pay-per-view, but he's still highly respected as a worker in the back, and a lot of the guys in the back know what Eddie's about, even though he hasn't became the fan favorite that he is by everybody now in 2023, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Eddie is always going to be Eddie. They just got that stature, man. It's just a Guerrero name, period.
Oh, so. Big facts, bro. Big facts.
Yeah, and for Eddie to put Edge over like that in this match, and on a pay-per-view too, you just knew he was up next.
Oh, yeah.
The music, the whole presentation, the music, the energy, the crowd pop, you just like, oh yeah, that's him right now.
And then
that's him.
On top of that, there was some spots in here, like we've got Edge jumping off the top rope to the outside, like high cross body type shit. And it made me think about kind of how they're training the current wrestlers, both products, WWE and AEW. Just around how you got to catch people when they do those spots versus just taking a bump. Like, Eddie was not catching, and I thought that was interesting. Eddie was straight up trying to sell the attack, but also protecting Edge at the same time. It wasn't like he was just taking a shot. And I was like, we need to figure out a way, wrestling trainers, guys that are doing this in the back and teaching the talent that we watch on TV every week how to do these spots and to make them more believable. And I know I may sound like Jim Cornette right now, and I apologize if I do, but that stuck out to me because I was just like, I see what he's talking about when he gets pissed off, when he's talking about matches where people do a bunch of flips and it's like a gymnastics meet where they're just basically jumping to get caught versus jumping to sell an attack. And I don't know if that could be fixed because I'm not an in-ring talent, never have been. I wish I could be, But I ain't stupid. I know what my body is built for these days at 36, and wrestling ain't it. So with that said, like, is there a way you think, Shine, that style of wrestling, and this may be just fool's gold, like just wishful thinking, so to speak, that could be integrated into the current product we watch now?
Is it possible? Probably, maybe, but all the wrestlers that you know that can make those believable moments and make it look like that have been wrestling 10, 15 plus years outside of, WWE or, maybe independent scenes, Japan, places like that.
That's a good point.
There's not many people actively wrestling right now that can take those kind of spots to where they can take, topes and over the top ropes and, moonsaults and shit like that and not look like they're putting their arms up, cradling the wrestler and just falling down.
Right.
That's what it looks like most of the time. And only a few people can do it. I've seen Roman do it.
Mm-hmm.
Edge can do it. I've seen Kenny Omega do it. Like, there's a few people in the AEW roster. Danielson can do it.
Right.
Everybody, all those people.
You're better workers that have been around for a while.
A lot of places, experience from a lot of different people. I don't know if WWE has the knowledge and experience in their training to instill that in every single person or every single talent that comes through there trying to train for that purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like that just comes with the experience.
I definitely am with you on that. And that's kind of why I understood why it jumped out to me. Like the person doing it and the people doing it, to your point, like you said, you've seen Edge do it. I've seen Eddie do it in 2002. It's because those guys have been around other places outside of just WWE. So, and this is an episode in the future, main pod or side, I don't know, but there's definitely a discussion that needs to be had about where wrestling is going as far as the suspension of disbelief that we've been talking about early on. Because the more of these like NIL deals, and I know Dub can speak to this a lot because he kind of operates in that NIL world through colleges now with different college athletes he's working with. And what is that going to mean for like the PC? Like you said, there's only so many trainers and they're being told to teach a certain style. So it is all going to look the same in like 3 to 5 years? Like, because you're going to get a changing of the guard, so to speak. So it brings a lot of questions that, like I said, we can kind of lean into it now, but definitely some things that we should lean onto in the future as far as some discussion points.
We could touch lightly on it now, pause, but I feel that we're in good hands right now. All the young people that I see coming up are getting trained and getting experience and being around a lot of good wrestlers. Any promotion that you're really talking about, if you want to go AEW or WWE, just look at half of the NXT roster. Put 5 years of experience on Carmelo Hayes. That shit looks scary. Like,
I can't argue with that, bro. You're right. There's gonna be your blue, and to shout out to JR, there's always gonna be your blue chippers in each class. That's gonna just be whatever you want them to be. Like, you got your guys you can get on TV, you can get them paid. They might make you some money too, but you got your Romans, so to speak, your Biancas, your street profits, your Tommasos, your Johnnies, like your guys that, like you said, that have been in the indies enough, in the PC long enough to kind of know the difference between the two. So that's an interesting thing I wanted to kind of bring up and lean into, but I ain't gonna hang out there too much longer. But
that's what I'm saying. We can spend a lot on that.
All right. So as far as just like the kind of undercard before we get into the main event, a great tag team match. We were kind of talking about the champions earlier, Lance Storm and Christian, the Un-Americans, wrestling one of the most underrated tag teams of this era, of the kind of like in the Attitude Era, ushering of the Ruthless Aggression era, fucking Goldust and Booker T. Yes. Pre-King Booker. This is like when we were talking about King Booker on the Night of Champions episode, and I was like, damn, I wish I could have seen that King Booker. This Booker T was the last Booker T I remember watching. before I kind of my eyes got lazy on the product. Great to see. Great pop. Great reaction. Goldust don't even get to play his music. That's how fucking big of a deal Booker T is coming out. All for it. And then the match definitely speaks to all of that. And the match did what it was supposed to do for a good babyface versus a good heel team. You get a lot of great spots. You get some questionable things happening as far as the fact that you get the fucking interference from Test. There's finishes where Goldust and Booker T should have won, but they didn't because of interference, and the Dastardly Heels win anyway. So it spoke to all of those things, and it gave us all the fun spots that you get from a Booker T and Goldust appearance in the ring, with your Spinneroonies, your Harlem Hangovers, your bookends, Sorry Rock, and all that kind of stuff, bro. So what was your take, man? Because I know you're not big on the Un-Americans, but I know you fucking love Booker T and Goldust. Right?
I love Booker T and Goldust. Weird tag teams, that's my shit. Because I love tag team wrestling, so then because they always have fun dynamics to them. So when you take Goldust and Booker T, even in this match, there was a lot of, like you said, instances of heel shit going on. Yeah. Like the tag that Booker T had, and the referee didn't see it, makes him go back and all to the corner and shit like that. Yep. Pins that were supposed to happen, referee wasn't to things like that. Bro, it was great match. I don't like the Un-Americans, like you said, but Booker T and Goldust in this match, top shit. Yeah. Top shit, yeah. Absolutely.
They definitely are a godsend for a tag team division that doesn't have a lot going on as far as tag teams at this period of time. Not a ton. You got some interesting tag teams like your Billy and Chucks and others, so to speak, but not a ton. So like I said, they're doing God's work in this division for sure, because they're not even supposed to be a serious tag team because they were just thrown together. And you know what that usually means? It's like a sink or swim. Like y'all either gonna survive and make this gimmick get over, or I'm gonna see y'all on TNA and Impact here in a couple years, which you do, but not for a while.
At least ready to learn Japanese, buddy. yeah, trust me.
Right.
Yeah.
right. And then, as far as like the highlights from like the card in general, outside of I call it the co-main event. I know it's not advertised as that. We're about to get into shortly. Is there any like good shit highlights outside of just this card being fire that I have not touched on before we get into our co-main events?
Yeah, RVD and Benoit.
Oh shit, yes.
You missed a whole match, my brother. What are you doing?
That match was like beyond amazing because RVD had no business winning that match, and Chris Benoit kind of like he's like, it's your turn, bro.
RVD had no business winning it.
Chris Benoit should win that match, in my opinion. If I'm watching that match,
RVD should win that match.
No, and I thought that in 2002. I'm like, if I'm watching that match, I'm like, Chris Benoit absolutely ripping fucking RVD to shreds because it's Chris Benoit. So in my mind, watching, I'm like, oh, he's putting RVD on. He showed him he's the next one up. So
as a ECW guy yourself, yes. I am disappointed.
How? Chris Benoit's an ECW guy too.
RVD was.
He is the ECW guy.
Exactly.
He's one of the, like, when you think of those guys.
ECW.
But
you think of Sandman Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, and then Rob Van Dam.
Facts.
As an ECW guy yourself, I'm very surprised you wouldn't think Rob Van Dam would win this match.
I mean, I go back to how he was booked up until like the One Night Stand pay-per-view in 2006. RVD was not like wasn't everybody's cup of tea, so to speak. I.e., the powers that be, aka HBK and HHH, were not big RVD guys, and he'll tell you as much. And you can see it in the booking. So that's what my mind goes, is being more of a smart mark. But even after, like I said, 2002, just knowing who Chris Benoit is, what he represented up until that point, and kind of like how watching as a 14-year-old, knowing that WWF booking doesn't appreciate ECW because they did it and they never did when it all came together. They treated them like fucking jobbers, to be completely honest. That's why I was more shocked that RVD got that that rub, like, oh, he's the IC champ. Because remember, they're showing the little vignettes in the backstage with Stephanie's terrible acting and fucking Bischoff about the GM spots on Raw and SmackDown. So I'm like, bruh, like, there's no reason that RVD's gonna win this match. But, and I'm glad in hindsight, and even at the time, because like I said, I always want to see my guys win. I'm ECW before I'm any of those other two companies. As far as how I'm looking at these products, I just lived in the real world, and in my world, I knew RVD wasn't doing more than wrestling Tajiri or Rhino typically until this fucking pay-per-view, basically. It's how I looked at it.
Understandable. I'm just an RVD guy. That's
shit,
just me.
Man. Mr. 420, Mr. Monday Night. I am too, but like I said, I was outside at the time, and he was not getting a lot. He was not like I said. This is 2002. That one night stand pay-per-view don't happen for another 4 years to give you perspective on how RVD's looked at in this company. Okay. Even though you and I know what he's about, Vince McMahon wasn't trying to hear that shit until he had to hear it when they put the title on him. But he fucked it up with Sabu on the fucking road, smoking weed and doing other shit.
I was about to say, about fucking getting pulled over with weed and shit, dumbass.
And we will, because that's one of my favorite fucking wrestling matches, sports entertainment matches, whatever you want to call it, of all time, is that main event. We will absolutely talk about that card at some point in the future. I guarantee you. But thank you for bringing that up, because I completely, like, I think I got so used to just taking all of this shit for this card for granted. I was just like, yeah, we'll get to it. That was a good match. I didn't even make a note about it. But yeah, bro, anything I left out outside of that one for good shit?
Outside of that good ass match, nah, that was it. Other than the co-main events, technically, that we're deeming it.
Yes, and let's get into it, brother, because this Shawn Michaels and Triple H match had like so much story, and it all was just, and it's all there. It's not like stories that you gotta explain that happened in this company 2 years ago, and maybe you saw a little bit here, but then it came back and went over. No, this all happened on WWE television, and we all know the story very well. If you're any sort of wrestling fan, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, back in 97, 98, they was the homies. They created D-Generation X, created a whole, you could call it a revolution in that type of kind of mindset in wrestling, period. So we know Shawn takes his L in 1998. Helps usher in the Austin era at WrestleMania 14. Has a fiery ass fucking press conference at the end of that show that nobody talks about, where he went off on a lot of people, and we literally don't see this man again until about 3 months before this pay-per-view. And he's brought in as Triple H's friend. They have some promos that they're having fun again. They even teased the OG DX, not the goofy shit we see in 5 years from now. That whole just Sean Sade and Triple H is extra married with kids, and they don't want to do anything to even appear vulgar. They had on the old school silver and black DX shirts. I'm like, oh, they about to be shirts the shit. Oh yeah, they about to be fucking wilding out on the USA Network. That's what I was thinking was gonna happen, and we don't get that. We get a betrayal of sorts, and Shawn Michaels getting his ass whooped for weeks until they discover that Triple H is the one putting these hits out on Shawn or doing it himself. So we get a grudge match essentially at SummerSlam, because this is actually even sanctioned by the general manager of Raw, Eric Bischoff. He says, I'm not approving this match, man. You lucky to get a referee out there. Luckily they got one.
It's gonna happen though.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
Absolutely. It's gonna happen. Triple H is the fucking politician of politicians. He's gonna make that shit happen. So we get Triple H versus HBK, man. HBK's first match since 1998. 4 years removed into this grudge match. And his entrance, you can tell people have missed him and he has missed the people. Shawn doesn't come out in his traditional tights. He comes out in some jeans, some cowboy boots, and a wife beater with a Bible verse on it. So my man's is not, he's not here for a match. He's here to fight. So those are the main things that jumped off. And great promo package, by the way.
Oh, beautiful.
Into, this match for anybody that didn't know what was happening. That laid it all out for you. So yeah, man. All the feels in the beginning, big fight feels and all that stuff. This match was not your typical HBK match, and I'm sure nobody expected it to be. It was a no holds barred match, so it was gonna be nothing but shenanigans afoot, and that's what we get as far as just Triple H bringing the violence. Shawn looking like he can't take it in the beginning, and think JR just selling every bit of it. Just go home, Shawn. You got nothing left to prove, kid. All of that kind of shit. Being said by JR, Shawn Michaels just being the best seller ever, as far as just selling the emotion of the match and what he's going through. It's just a slow, plottier match than what we've seen from HBK ever in his career up until this point. Would you agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, man. He's got to get the oil back flowing through the gears and everything, man.
Oil,
you know. Exactly, man. You know, he's got to get back pumping again. He's a little slow. You know, the juices aren't all there yet. They will be in a couple years. They will be.
Oh, yeah.
But as of right now, yeah, it's a little slower. Good match, though. Good match for as far as pacing and things like that. He did what he could, because I think they went, like 30 minutes or something? They went
20
like, minutes?
They went like damn near 40.
Yeah, I was about to say it was like 30.
I don't know if that. I'd argue they might have been going into business for themselves. Look, I was like, this is a long match for before the undisputed championship match. All right, you got it, y'all. You got it, Vince. But yeah, it was a very long match. But I feel like it had to be, and I feel like this what was happening in this match as far as the story justified that longer bleed into this match because of all the history there and all the brutality being presented in the match. Like it was a very just methodical drip of the weapons being brought out, and then fucking Shawn getting busted open. And at the point in time, Triple H got the crimson mask. Lots of false finishes. Even a ladder gets brought in the ring. I think that because they were selling this match as Shawn's one night only type shit, because he didn't want to put the expectation that he was back, because he didn't know if he was confident enough that he was back. I know there's some different documentaries out there. There's so much content like that. I don't even know what the name of the show is, but I remember seeing something on the network or Peacock around them two talking about this return match and how nervous Shawn was and how he didn't want to do this match with anybody but Trips, because he knew Trips was going to protect him, A, and B, make the match look better than what it should have been, considering the circumstances around it. So yeah, bro, like I really don't know if they could have done this any better around the circumstances of the match. But it ends in great fashion. You get a roll up by Shawn, in a sense. She just flips Triple H over his shoulders, basically. 1, 2, 3, gets out of there, kisses Earl Hebner, gets his arm raised like he just won the big gold eagle for the first time. And then Triple H fucking blasts him in the back with a fucking sledgehammer a couple times.
This was my favorite era of the Triple H sledgehammer, because they are using a fake sledgehammer.
Yes.
And so he can actually hit people with it.
Yes.
Because the top of it isn't, steel.
Right. Right.
And then I don't know if you know the story about why they stopped using it. And they actually switched to a... So if you remember, what WrestleMania was it, 17 or 18, where Triple H fought Undertaker?
For the first time? I know they only fought when Taker was officially getting ready to retire and all that.
It was no. Yeah, I'm talking about the first time, the WrestleMania for the first time, where they like went through the crowd and all that shit. It was 17 or 18, I can't remember. Okay. But he does a spot at the end of the match where he's supposed to hit him with the top of, the sledgehammer to make it seem real. Yeah. But the wood is actually real. So they started, it hit Undertaker and started making him bleed everywhere from the nose. He took a real shot from it. Oof. So from there on out, Vince started making him use a real sledgehammer, but cover it with his hand.
Right. I've always noticed that. And it would piss me off when I would see him hitting people with the fucking closed fist over the sled. I'm like, what is that doing? Just don't bring it out, bro.
That's why I like this Sledgehammer Triple H, because the shots look real. Although if you get a close-up shot of the sledgehammer, it looks like a fucking Minecraft, weapon. But it looks like a lethal blow from 30 feet away.
Yeah. He swung it like he was trying to hit a home run, when like he was like holding back. So it was cool to see. As sick as that sound, it was nice to see a legitimate sledgehammer shot to the back, especially because Shawn's selling his back. It's the reason why he was gone. So you get the stretcher spot, Triple H laughing like a psycho, maniacally
villain.
Yeah, big time, big villain,
Menace.
Big villain, and that's another thing I want to bring up about this match, kind of in closing before we get to the other main event is. Those guys played their roles so perfectly, as far as Shawn being the babyface. I'm back. Y'all miss me. I loved you guys. I still love you. And Triple H is like, fuck all that shit. I ain't here for it. I'm here to make sure this man never wrestles again. And here's how. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, to the point where Earl Hebner got sick of the shenanigans. Earl Hebner was like a fed up dad with his like daughter. Like, that's it. You're going to your room. I'm sick of this shit. Like, and Triple H was like, my bad, bro. I'll chill until the end of the match, but I'll chill right now. So that shit was funny as fuck to me, because Earl Hebner had it.
Earl Hebner getting fed up is fucking classic.
My man was through, man. So this is a great bow to put on this, because we ripped Shawn on the SummerSlam 96 episode because of what we know Shawn is capable of. And this is a great way to kind of see what happens after that title run in 96. And then he gets another one in 97, going into 98. Goes home until now. So this is the Shawn that we're used to seeing, and no pun intended, that Shawn is used to seeing, as far as what he's used to from his wrestling watching when he got into the product. So,
facts.
So Shawn, going from a tale of two Shawn, so to speak, from 96 to 2002, what was some of the biggest takeaways from comparison and contrasting what you saw?
Oh my, he still got it. It was more of a realization, like, all right, I need to do this. Can't act like an ass as much, at least. Not as many. I can't even say not as many as the high spots, because in this match there was ladder spots, table spots.
There's a ton.
There's a ton. Yeah, so I can't even say not as many high spots, because arguably he does more in this run versus what he did in his first run. And he took more bumps, more blood.
I have to agree.
And it's subjective what run is better. In my opinion, just from what I've seen, that second run is better than his first, in my opinion.
It's hard for me to agree with that, man. It really is, because I saw it happening. Like, I saw the 94 Rumble and the 95 Rumble and the 96 Rumble, where this man just basically laid on the top rope for an entire fucking match. Like, nobody survived Royal Rumbles like that. That kind of shit sticks out. He was the first guy to get thrown over and 1 foot touch and flip back in. Like, that was all him. That was him.
That was the classic, yeah. Just dangling and then flipping back in.
I'd argue, and this is what only part I'll see of that argument is that his 96 title run wasn't that great for all the hype that was around it. There was a bunch of hype around that man winning the title in 96. If you all was watching the product at that time, Brett losing that title and going home, it was a big deal. So Shawn can have that spotlight. He never had it before. He was always a mid-card just workhorse of the mid-card. That was Shawn. So for him to get that run, like you said, and even the one in 97, 98, even though it's one of my favorites for all the wrong reasons, because it wasn't the title that made that Shawn cool. It was all the shit he was doing in promos and that kind of stuff that made him cool. Mm-hmm. I'll see your argument, but in fairness, I only watched Shawn up to that first DX run when him and Triple H come back together against the Spirit Squad. It's like the last of Shawn I really take serious and see, outside of me going back in my watching now and going to watch his match with Kurt, his match with Chris Jericho, his match with Rick, that kind of stuff that was happening, his matches with John Cena, and to get a feel of like, okay, is this Shawn better? And I'll see also there because it's harder to be at that same level, if not better, older than it is when you are kind of like just all you know is wrestling. And I'm only taking breaks when I want to take a break, basically. So I'll hear that half of it. But nonetheless, great match. One of the most iconic matches of a SummerSlam, in my opinion, that never gets talked about because of, I think just people just forget about this match. There's no other reason why I would. I think people just forget about, hey, Shawn Michaels didn't wrestle for 4 years, and this is the first match he wrestled when he came back. Period, point blank, in my opinion.
It's insane to say that because seeing this for someone that hasn't wrestled in 4 years.
Yeah, you would never think.
You'd never think. You'd think this man, was wrestling last week.
Exactly.
And especially with all the spots, the finishes, beautiful. I fucking love the selling. His selling is still on point. How do you not wrestle for 4 years and your selling is still on point?
It's like riding a bike for that man, dude. Like he just,
that's why
it's in him. It's in him, not on him.
Arguably the best, man. He's arguably the best.
Agree, bro. Completely agree. So we get into the other co-main event. This one for the undisputed WWE title. You get the champion, The Rock, getting ready to go to Hollywood and become Hollywood Rock, versus a very, very young, very, very hungry, very, very fucking scarier than he is now, Brock Lesnar, with Paul Heyman, full ponytail and sway. Man, what an era. And I think that if Shawn and Triple H don't wrestle on this card, you get some fire ass. I mean, this match was good for its own respect, but it would have been more of a rocket to the top of this card as far as how people remember it. Honestly, I completely forgot that this match was on this card because of the Shawn and Triple H match. That's the first thing that popped into my mind when I cut it back on. This was kind of like the byproduct of it. And it's unfortunate because this is Brock Lesnar's first title win. And it's against The Rock. And it's not like he's fucking beating up some jobber. Like, he's sending The Rock out of here. And kudos to The Rock. Because The Rock sold that he could win this match and be right back here on Monday Night Raw the next night. But revisionist history tells us this is his, I'm going to Hollywood. I'm giving this thing a shot and about to become the biggest fucking Hollywood actor that y'all know. And this is the beginning of it. So yeah, bro, what are your thoughts of the lead-in to this co-main event?
It was good. I was always a Rock guy. Hollywood Rock was the shit to me, but Brock Lesnar was just believable.
Big time.
Scary. If there's scary as shit as far as a wrestler, bro. Like, if there's ever a list of believable wrestlers, Brock Lesnar is top 3 on that list. Because that man legitimately can fuck you up. And there's, he was, UFC, I think the dude fucking chops down trees with his bare hands and fishes with, in the ocean with his bare hand. Like, he's
a grizzly bear.
Wow. Grizzly, yeah. He's what does Pat McAfee say? The alpha male of our species? Like, yeah. That's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So the lead into this match, you knew what was going on. You knew what was about to happen, but you still were like, "Oh shit, what is Brock about to do to this dude?"
Yeah, and it gets kind of crazy in this match. Surprisingly, you get a Rock entrance where he throws the title down like a line in the sand right in front of him, fucking bounces up and down and sprints at fucking Brock Lesnar. And gets it in, starts to get it going. A lot of hot starts on this card. Like a lot of people like, nah, dog, we ain't doing all the pageantry bullshit. Let's get straight to it. So yeah, you get these dudes in the ring. A lot of offense by Brock early on to the middle of the match. And then The Rock kind of takes over when they get to the outside. A lot more brutality from The Rock. Rock puts fucking Paul Heyman through a table. That was fun to see. I would love to know what he told him in his ear because it looked like he made a joke. Like, I picked your fat ass up or something like that. Like, he said some shit to Paul Heyman that had him laughing. Because you can tell, like, there was definitely a joke made there in that moment. After he rock bottomed Paul through that table. And but yeah, man, he drops the title to Brock. There's not a lot of story like there is around Shawn and Triple H. I think that's why this match suffers the most. Also, being the last match before that one sucks the life out of what they could do even more. Not to say this was a bad match. If you just watch it with just the tunnel vision of this just being this match and not considering what's happened before on this card, this match should be considered one of a great match. But it's like I said, it's just on a ridiculously stacked card for 2002 that it's kind of not held in that higher regard. I think you put this anywhere else in most years on a pay-per-view, it's gonna be a match. This is gonna be like the top 5 match of the year, I feel like. So what's your thoughts on that, bro?
No, absolutely, man. And that's the exact thing that I was saying. If you place this on any other card, bro, this was the match. Like, undoubtedly the match. And it reminds me sort of WrestleMania 18. Hogan versus Rock.
Yes.
How that was the match right before the main event. And it's like, wait, what the fuck? Why would you put that on before the main event? And then no one even really gave a shit about Hogan or Triple H and Jericho. So yeah, it just didn't make sense. So it's one of these things like, man, I get it. The title goes on last back in the day. Big Vinceism, in my opinion.
Big time.
So yeah.
And I mean, you bring up WrestleMania 18, which isn't too far away from this card. That's the problem, I think, bro, with this just era of WWE from like 1998 through 2000, I'd argue 4. Like, you got so many guys on a card that is gonna make you and draw you money. It's like, where do we put them all? Like, there's almost too many, and you never think you would hear this. There's almost too many top guys in this business, especially because in this what kind of helped them but hurt them was acquiring WCW and knocking some people off of their card that was already kind of not prominently featured, but they were more in the mid to lower top of the card. But now those guys are either getting pushed officially to the mid or back to catering. So that's what makes it really hard.
Jobbing or catering.
Yeah. Right. For sure, bro. So, like, it's, like I said, WWE in this time, from not just this card, but I think a lot of cards, like you mentioned, WrestleMania 18 had that problem. You got all of these icons, all of these big-ass stars that can draw money by themselves, wrestling 2 to 3 matches away from the main event because the main eventers either subject to the Vinceism shit and they're just there because somebody holds a title, or he just don't know where to put it all. It's just too much shit. So it's a good problem to have, but it's definitely noticeable in this case, and it sucks some air out of what should be considered a highly regarded match, just as high as the match we just got to talking about, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, bro, like I said, Brock retains, fades to black, starts the Brock Lesnar era of being an undisputed champion. I forget who he drops it to. I want to say he drops it to Eddie. But that's not for a little while though, right?
If I'm not mistaken,
04.
Yeah, that's like but I think he drops it before that. I would have to look that up.
Yeah,
I would have to look that one up.
And no worries, we're not prepared to discuss that, and we're not going to, because that's the end, folks, of breaking down, not in grave detail, but getting to the main gist of one of the, I'd say, most popular, most talented cards in WWE wrestling in the last 23 years. So with that being said, Sean, you know, we doing letter grades on these SummerSlams we've been talking about. What letter grade would you give SummerSlam 2002?
A+.
I'm gonna give it an A straight up. I was thinking A. I was almost gonna give it an A- because of the Test and Undertaker match, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna hold that against them. If that's the biggest stinker on your card and it's not even a stinker, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not a dick. But yeah, A, bro. I give it the flat A. There's not a lot touching this. It's just, like I said, if you want to just see why people obsess over pro wrestling, cards like this, where you get only like kind of one mid match and everything else you could say, hey buddy, you want to watch wrestling, you should watch Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, or Eddie Guerrero versus Edge, or fucking Triple H versus Shawn Michaels for 40 minutes and beat the shit out of each other and make you really believe it like they hate each other. So that's the reason why I agree with my grade and yours as far as the A and A+, bro. But let's get up out of here, man. This is another episode 6 to be exact, of the BA Show with the homie Sean from Fourth Rope. Sean, I'm gonna let you lead off and tell us where these good, fine listeners of this illustrious podcast can find you, sir.
Oh my gosh, you can find me at Fourth Rope on Twitter. And occasionally on the Let Me Book the Territory podcast. And every other week, except for this month, we're going to be coming at you every week on, of course, the BA Show.
Sir, here we go. I was expecting to say, y'all know you can find me. Fucking Twitter, at Fourth Rope.
I'm going to be more formal
Follow
this
me,
week, bro. Come on, man. I can't do the same shit every week. I got to be more formal.
I feel it, bro. I feel it. Switch it up a little bit. I understand. And as y'all know, y'all can find me every Friday on the main show. We talking about the current product. That's like clockwork. Sometimes I won't be there. Sometimes you'll hear Sean pop in for either myself, Dub, or E-Ray if one of us have some business to attend to in these streets. And then outside of that, as y'all know, find me here this month every Wednesday. Outside of that, every other Wednesday, giving y'all all the nostalgia that your brains can handle. And then on top of that, y'all already know you can find me individually absolutely nowhere because BA still ain't got these social medias just in his name because y'all don't need to know what BA is doing. Well, he ain't running the @LetMeBookPod Twitter page or popping in on the IG page or saying what's up on Facebook real quick. Or just find all of this shit at LetMeBookPod.com. That's where we have our whole feed of all of this podcast material that we deliver to y'all on a weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes twice a week basis, trying to keep y'all ears flooded with the wrestling content. But in closing, I'm going to start closing with a different saying. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows, in the words of the modern day poet, Sean Carter. This is Let Me Book the Territory. Proudly presents the BA Show. We will see y'all folks on the next one. Peace out, folks.
Peace.